Here we go.
Well, hello, how is everyone? You amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. It's Sunday, baby. It's Sunday, and despite it being officially the day of rest, we're not resting. Crime don't rest. So we're getting straight into the meat and potatoes, as this is video 1 of 3. So keep your eyes peeled, because we're going to be all on it. All over it. I mean, in there like swimwear. So what are we talking about first of all? We're talking about Bryan Kohberger, because, look, we have to be fair. We have to be fair, and I was talking to one of my fantastic moderators yesterday. Can't remember whether it was in Discord or whether it was in comments, because I'm getting old and my memory's not what it once used to be. But also, if you're not a member of our Discord, do join. Do join it. I'll perhaps put a link in the description of this video. Go check it out. But anyway, look, I was thinking to myself, with respect to Bryan Kohberger, right? How do you defend somebody in this situation? How do you defend somebody who it would appear has committed this atrocity? Because you have to ask the question as to, and what I will say is, look, my position hasn't changed. My position has not changed from the beginning, in that they have not shown, in my opinion, enough evidence to convict Bryan Kohberger of this crime. One big question is, will they do it in the trial? And you would hope so. You would hope that the accused, who has sat behind bars for, 2 years, will indeed be proven to be the person who did it. The question is, with respect to everything that we've seen that makes you have doubts, will them doubts be upheld or will they be overturned? But again, the question is, how do you defend? How would you defend? If you was tasked with being Bryan Kohberger's legal counsel, how would you do it? And coming off the back end of that, you then have to consider, has what we've seen with respect of Ann Taylor, Jay Logston, Eliza Masseth, how they have operated around Bryan Kohberger, have they in fact perfectly shown us how you would even defend someone who is guilty of this crime? And are we just watching it play out in terms of a very, very good defense team doing absolutely everything they can in order to get somebody off of a crime they have been accused of? Because ultimately, that's their job, isn't it? That is their job. They're a defense team, and whether we like it or not, even a accused person who has indeed done a heinous crime, they are entitled to an effective defense. So is this a situation where we are seeing an effective defense team? Because what are we actually seeing, and what clues are there in the background that it doesn't really matter whether they think he's innocent or guilty? It's just how they have to play the system. It's how they have to operate in order to be effective. So look, case in point, right? You would have a legal team that would pull apart the PCA. They'd go into every single minute detail and pull it apart. And we have seen that with Ann Taylor and Eliza Masseth. They're pulling everything apart. That's not unusual. That is just there to form doubt, because that's what you have to do. As a defense counsel, you have to raise an element of doubt, because the burden of proof lies with the prosecution, and it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. So the entire construct of defense is to provide reasonable doubt. And in the Bryan Kohberger case, we have heard them keep asking for, give us your discovery, give us your discovery, give us your discovery, give us your discovery. So it could be argued that this is quite a clever way to make it look like the prosecution team are withholding things, because ultimately there is a deadline for discovery. A deadline is set. So just say, for instance, a deadline is set for the beginning of September, right? Why do you have to keep asking for things? Why do you have to keep asking for elements of discovery before the deadline for discovery is even upon you? So I feel to myself, even though there was elements of this that were time sensitive, such as the alibi defence for Brian Kohberger, there was elements and proportions of the alibi that couldn't be given because they were awaiting discovery. So there is, I've looked back and there seems to be only one point there was a viable reason for requesting a specific proportion of discovery. But when I look back and think that there has been 16 requests for discovery and they were all within the time frame, it makes me wonder whether this was strategic to make from people who are outside looking in to think, hold on a second, why are the prosecution withholding discovery? We've now had 16 requests for discovery. Now, don't get me wrong, there are elements to this that would seem to still be missing, such as the genetic genealogy information. Now, if we're going to move forward from that, it will be interesting to see whether that has indeed all been completed and discovery has well and truly been handed over. But what I'm getting at is the deadline for discovery wasn't until September, so the 16 requests for discovery seem to be more strategic than they were necessary. We also have other situations with Ann Taylor, with respect that she will turn around and say, my client is innocent. She will touch him on the shoulder and say, I believe that my client is innocent. Now, some people have turned around and said she wouldn't risk her credibility doing that. But again, when you're trying to get somebody off of a crime, where in your brain you're probably thinking, he's not going to get off, you will take out every single thing in your toolbox to try and get to where you want to get, and that is to get him off. And if that includes proclaiming that you believe that this person is innocent while affectionately touching him on the shoulder, you have to ask the sincerity of that. Is she truly in belief that Brian Kohberger is indeed innocent of this crime, or is she just being very strategic, knowing that she is on camera and how that is going to be received? Who knows? There are other things as well. The gag order. The defence have been in support of the gag order. Absolutely in support of it. And you have to concern yourself as to what benefit was there for the gag order when you know that with the gag order set in place, it has allowed the stuff to run rampant in the community. All of these fictitious stories, they have pulled Brian Kohberger apart in the public eye. It's all over media. And again, I wonder whether this was strategically supported because Ann Taylor, in all her wisdom, knew exactly what would happen. And therefore, it could be said that this could eventually lead into a position where Brian Kohberger, it could be argued, is simply unable to receive a fair trial. So was she strategically supporting something that she knew would have the effect that it did? You have to ask the question. Now, I think what we have to keep our eyes open for now are the motions to suppress and seeing what pieces of the puzzle are being or attempted to be suppressed. What evidence is going to be suppressed in the upcoming weeks and months as we approach the trial. Because if we do start seeing motions to suppress coming from the defence team and there are things that they don't want the public to see, specific, I think that will be a telltale sign that this has perhaps been a game all along. And don't get me wrong, this does not change my thoughts and feelings around Brian Kohberger and what has been shown and how I feel about the relevance of how he is been treated in the past and that being unfair against what is his constitutional right as a person, and that is to obtain a fair trial and an effective counsel. I believe that he is entitled to his day in court, and I hope that he's either proven to be guilty or he's proven to be innocent, because again, like I said yesterday, that grey area just isn't going to wash it. and will be problematic for the rest of his life should they just fail to prove him guilty. Maybe that's where we're going to end up. Maybe, indeed, we are going to get into a situation where Brian simply can't receive a fair trial. And this will be the way that Ann Taylor and co. get Brian Kohberger out of this situation. But how do you feel about it? What do you think? Do you feel that, and I know that there are going to be a lot of anti-burgers who are going to think, yeah, this is exactly the thing. But I'm not listening to you, because that's not what you've said in the past. I've given people ample opportunities to tell me why they think Brian Kohberger is indeed guilty, and I still get the stalking, I still get the DNA, the knife sheath and all of this without any room for manoeuvring that, thinking there may be something more to that, taking in the scientific relevance of how touch DNA can be transferred and the relevance in this case. But anyway, I just thought I'd say it was an interesting conversation to have. And look, maybe Ann Taylor is just being what she's paid to be, and that is a very effective defence counsel. But I ask you to let me know down below, if you were tasked with the job of saving Brian Kohberger's life, how would you do it? Would you do it differently? Or is Ann Taylor bang on the money? I'll catch you all later.